My name's Kayla Whitmore, I'm 27, the youngest in my family, and the one who somehow became everyone's afterthought. 4 years ago, I traded my dream job for whatever shifts I could get, just to keep a roof over my head. That roof happened to be a basement with one window that didn't open and a clock on my desk that hasn't ticked in years. I thought I knew the reason why. Until one Sunday, over mimosas and scrambled eggs, my grandfather raised his glass and smiled across the table. "I'm so glad you're enjoying the apartment I got you." The fork froze in my hand. The clock in my head stopped, if it had ever been moving at all. If you're watching this, drop a comment and tell me what you would do if someone you trusted dropped a bomb like that in public. Hit like, subscribe, and stay with me, because the truth about that apartment was nothing like anyone at that table imagined. And the day that stopped clock started ticking again, was the day everything changed. The clock on my desk hadn't moved in 2 years. Its hands were frozen at 3:17, the minute my life seemed to stall. I'd stopped trying to fix it. The silence between its ticks had become part of my mornings, quiet, heavy, a reminder of all the days that blended together in that basement room. That Sunday morning, I sat staring at it, sipping coffee that tasted burnt, wondering how long before the landlord upstairs started yelling at her dog again. My phone buzzed on the table. It was Grandpa. "Brunch today," he said. "My treat. Be there at 11. I almost said no. Crowded family brunches weren't my idea of a good time, but something in his voice made me agree. By 10:45, I was walking into the kind of restaurant with polished wood tables and sunlight that made you squint. The air smelled faintly of oranges and fresh bread. Grandpa was already there, his mimosa catching the light. He smiled wide, the kind of smile I hadn't seen in years. "My girl," he said warmly. "I'm so glad you're enjoying the apartment I got you." The words slammed into me. I froze, glass halfway to my lips. The orange juice burned down my throat, and I set it down slowly, like moving too fast would make the whole room notice. But they already had. My mom's lipstick parted in surprise, my sister looked up from her phone, and my dad's fork clattered against his plate. I swallowed hard. "I live in a basement," I said quietly. Grandpa's smile faltered. "What?" "I never got an apartment from you," I said louder this time. My voice didn't shake. I wasn't about to cry here, not after all these years of keeping my head down. Around us, the chatter of the restaurant seemed to dim, replaced by the slow thump of my heartbeat in my ears. Grandpa leaned back, confusion in his eyes. "That's not possible. I wired the money 4 years ago." And that was the moment I realized, this couldn't just be a misunderstanding. The table felt smaller than it was, like the air had thickened and pressed us all closer together. Grandpa's words still hung there, impossible to ignore. "I sent 70,000 to your dad," he said slowly, like he was trying to make sense of it himself. "For a down payment. Right after your graduation." I felt my jaw tighten. "I've been in that basement since I left college," I said. "If you'd seen it, you'd know there's no down payment in my life." From the corner of my eye, I caught Mom's hand trembling as she reached for her coffee cup. A single drop spilled onto the tablecloth. My sister put her phone down for the first time all morning, watching the exchange like it was a reality show she didn't want to miss. Dad leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "It's a misunderstanding," he said lightly, almost amused. The second hand of the clock hanging over the restaurant's entrance didn't move. I stared at it for a moment, the way I used to stare at mine back home. No tick. No talk. Just stillness. Grandpa's gaze sharpened. "A misunderstanding is when you forget to call back. This," he stopped, his voice catching. "This is something else." The waiter arrived with our food, but no one touched a thing. The smell of warm bread felt out of place against the cold tension at the table. They're looking at me like I'm the problem, I thought, as their eyes shifted between me and Grandpa. I wasn't sure if I should be angry or afraid. Maybe both. Under the table, my hands curled into fists. I wanted answers. And I wanted them now. Grandpa leaned in slightly, his voice low enough that only I could hear. "Come with me after this," he said. "We'll get to the bottom of it." I glanced once more at the frozen clock on the wall. My heart beat faster, not from hope, but from knowing this wasn't going to be simple. Because if Grandpa was right, then someone in this family was lying. The bank was quieter than I expected for a weekday afternoon. The air smelled faintly of printer ink and carpet cleaner, the kind of sterile scent that made me feel like every word here would matter. Grandpa walked beside me, his jaw set. He didn't say much on the drive over, just tapped the steering wheel in rhythm with his thoughts. I caught him glancing at the dashboard clock once, it was working just fine. Unlike mine. A middle-aged banker with sharp glasses led us into her office. She offered coffee, we both refused. Her computer screen glowed faintly, reflecting off her lenses as she typed. The only sound in the room was the faint hum of the heating vent, and the faint tick of the wall clock. Then she said it, "Yes, I see a transfer here. From Mr. Whitmore's account to Daniel Whitmore. Marked as gift for Kayla's condo." My stomach tightened. She clicked again, and I leaned forward. 5 days later, she continued, the full amount was moved into a separate investment account under Daniel Whitmore's name. The ticking clock on the wall seemed louder now, every beat an accusation. Grandpa's lips thinned. "Can we have a printed copy of that?" "Of course." She stood to retrieve it. I looked at him. "That's it, isn't it?" "Proof." His voice was quiet, steady. "It's more than proof. It's the first crack." When the banker returned, she handed Grandpa the documents neatly clipped together. He slid them into a folder with a care that felt like both anger and resolve. "This isn't just family drama, Kayla," he said as we walked out. "It's theft. And theft has consequences." Outside, the winter air bit at my cheeks. I glanced up at the bank's clock tower. The hands were moving, but I couldn't help imagining what it would look like frozen, how it would feel to stop someone's time just like mine had been stopped. Grandpa opened the car door for me. "We're going to your parents' house," he said. I tightened my seat belt. The ticking in my head wasn't a clock anymore, it was the sound of something about to break. The drive to my parents' house was silent except for the steady hum of the engine. Grandpa's hands gripped the wheel, knuckles pale. I kept glancing at the dashboard clock, its numbers shifting smoothly forward. My own stopped clock flashed in my mind like a warning, time to face the truth. The house looked the same as it had the day I left, white siding, tidy lawn, curtains drawn tight. But the air felt different. Heavy. Grandpa rang the bell. Dad opened the door wearing that same half-smile he used when trying to dodge responsibility. His eyes darted between us. "What's this about?" "Sit down," Grandpa said. No raised voice. "Just steal." We gathered in the living room. Mom hovered by the kitchen doorway. My sister stood halfway down the stairs, her phone angled like she might start recording. Grandpa placed the folder on the coffee table and opened it slowly, the way you might reveal evidence in court. "For years ago, I sent you $70,000 to buy Kayla a condo," he began. "You told me you did." "You lied." Dad's smile faltered. "You're blowing this out of proportion." "She's been living in a basement," Grandpa cut in, voice sharp. "Working 2 jobs. Eating dinner on the floor. While you invested her money for yourself." I felt heat rise in my chest. "And you called me lazy. Said I didn't deserve help. Meanwhile, you were living off the help meant for me." The clock on the mantel caught my eye. It was still running, but somehow, each tick sounded slower, heavier. Like it knew the weight of the moment. Dad shifted in his seat. I was holding it for her future. "Stop lying," I said. "You weren't saving it. You were keeping it." Grandpa slid the printed bank records toward him. "You will repay every cent. And you will admit what you did, in writing, in front of the family." Mom whispered, "Daniel, Tell me this isn't true. He said nothing. I trusted you, Grandpa continued. You betrayed both of us. From now on, you're cut out of every trust, every estate plan. Permanently. Dad's face drained of color. My sister lowered her phone. The room was thick with silence, broken only by the steady ticking on the mantel. It felt like the sound was pounding inside my chest. Grandpa stood. This conversation is over. Next Sunday, we'll settle it in front of everyone. As we left, I glanced back once. Dad was still sitting there, shoulders slumped, staring at the clock. I wondered if he heard it ticking the way I did, like a countdown. In the car, Grandpa didn't start the engine right away. We have 1 week, he said. Make it count. The stopped clock back in my basement flashed in my mind again. I had a feeling it wouldn't stay frozen much longer. The week crawled by like it knew I was counting every hour. Back in my basement room, the stopped clock sat on the shelf above my desk, its hand still frozen at 3:17. Every time I looked at it, I imagined those hands twitching, ready to move, but holding back, just like me. Grandpa and I didn't talk much over the phone, but each conversation was precise, deliberate. Sunday, he said once. We let the truth do the work. I prepared in silence. The bank documents were copied 3 times, sealed in envelopes. The letter Grandpa had drafted for Dad to sign sat in a slim leather folder, waiting like a final verdict. Saturday night, I barely slept. The air felt charged, like the seconds before a storm breaks. I lay there in the dim light of my basement, staring at the clock. I thought about the years I'd wasted here, years I could never get back, but also about what I was about to reclaim. Sunday morning, I dressed simply, dark slacks, a cream blouse. No jewelry. No distractions. This wasn't about looking victorious, it was about being unshakable. Grandpa picked me up right on time. His suit was pressed, his expression unreadable. On the drive to the restaurant, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It was focus. When we walked in, the same table as last week was waiting. The same white tablecloth, the same polished silverware. I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. One by one, family members trickled in. Mom kept her eyes down. My sister wore sunglasses, even indoors. Then Dad arrived. He looked smaller somehow, like the past 7 days had aged him. Grandpa placed the leather folder on the table between us. When they walk in, he murmured, everything will already be in motion. I glanced at the clock on the wall. For the first time in years, I wished it would freeze, just for a second, so I could memorize this moment. The calm before the strike. Because once this began, there'd be no turning back. The last chair slid into place, the scrape against the floor sounding louder than it should have. Conversations dimmed as Grandpa stood, one hand resting on the leather folder between us. His other hand brushed mine, a silent reminder that I wasn't facing this alone. I'm going to keep this short, he began, voice steady but cutting through the room. For years ago, I sent $70,000 to Daniel, with the understanding it would be used to buy Kayla a home. I was told she received it. I was told she was thriving. That was a lie. Every fork, every glass seemed frozen midair. My aunt's eyes widened, my cousin stopped chewing. Daniel, Grandpa continued, turning toward my father, you took that money, invested it for yourself, and left your daughter to live in a basement without light or dignity. You let her believe she was unworthy, lazy, undeserving of help. All while profiting from her struggle. The air was so still, I could hear the ticking from the restaurant's wall clock, each beat a drumroll for what was coming. Grandpa slid the folder toward Dad. You will read this aloud. Dad's hand shook as he unfolded the paper. His voice was low at first, but Grandpa's sharp louder cut through, forcing him to project. To my family, he read, I stole from my daughter, Kayla Whitmore. I took funds meant for her future and lied about their purpose. I accept full responsibility and will repay the full amount within 6 months. I am deeply sorry. When he finished, no one clapped. No one gasped. Just silence, thick, heavy, and final. Grandpa straightened. From this moment on, Daniel is removed from my estate and any financial authority. He has betrayed my trust and my family for the last time. I didn't look at my father. I didn't need to. His absence in my life had already begun the moment he chose greed over me. After brunch, Grandpa and I stepped outside into the crisp air. The sun was brighter than it had been in weeks. "You're not going back to that basement," he said. "I found a place for you. Light wood floors. Real windows." The day I moved in, the first thing I unpacked was the stopped clock. I placed it on the kitchen counter, intending to leave it as it was, frozen at 3:17, a reminder of what I'd survived. But that night, as I sat at my new table, sketching designs for the first time in years, I heard it. Tick. I looked up. The hands were moving, steady and sure, as if time had finally caught up to me. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was running out of time. I felt like I had all of it ahead of me. And that was better than winning. It was living. I used to think survival meant getting through each day without falling apart. You push forward, you swallow the unfairness, you keep your head down and hope time will somehow fix things. But here's the truth I learned: time doesn't fix anything by itself. It just moves. What matters is what you choose to do while it's moving. For years, my clock sat frozen at 3:17, and I thought it was a cruel joke. Like the world was reminding me that my life had stalled. But now I see it differently. It wasn't just marking when things stopped, it was waiting for me to start them again. When you've been wronged, it's tempting to believe that getting even will set you free. But freedom didn't come when my dad read that letter in front of everyone. It came when I realized I didn't need his apology to move forward. Sometimes the people you expect to protect you will be the ones who let you down the hardest. And sometimes, the person who saves you is the one you didn't think to lean on. That's not a tragedy, it's a map. It points you toward where you truly belong. If you take anything from my story, let it be this: you are allowed to stop waiting for someone else to do right by you. You can start the clock yourself. Mine is ticking again now. Every second is mine to spend, not theirs to steal. And that, more than anything, is what peace sounds like. Tick.